What's going on, guys? Back in the garage today with my daughter's 99 Honda Accord V6. And today I'm going to be doing motor mounts. I got that front one there, and you can't see them back in there, but there's two transmission mounts. And if I have time, I'm going to do this rear one. I think that's going to be kind of a challenge, so if I don't do it today, I'll make another separate video on that one. And then also the side motor mount there if I have time today. But I did notice I'm missing a bolt there, so I got to come across or try and find a bolt for that. But here's the mounts I got off Amazon. Included all 5 pieces for like 70 bucks. So you got your side, front and rear, and then your two transmission mounts as well. So, and I know it's a common problem on these Accords. A lot of these motor mounts and transmission mounts go bad. I know they've had problems with them, so we'll see what we get to today. So you want to go ahead and block your rear wheel, and we'll go jack up the front end. Go ahead and jack it up. There's your jack point there. Go ahead and grab your jack stands. You got this pinch weld here. Go ahead and put your jack stand under here. Also, you got an arrow pointing there. Then go ahead and remove your driver's side front wheel so we can gain access to the transmission mounts. These are 19 millimeter. And then looking in the wheel well here, you can see this is one of your transmission mounts, your front one. And then back in here, this one here is going to be your rear mount. Alright, so looking down at the front motor mount, I'm going to have to loosen these so I can get those transmission mounts out so I can jack up the motor. But you got 4 bolts here I'm going to loosen. One right there, right here, and same on the other side. And then that back one might be a challenge. I'll see what I can do on that, but I may have to use a universal with a socket on there. And then also soak this in some WD-40 or PB Blaster just to let that sit as well. And these are all going to be 14 millimeters. And I'm using a 24-inch extension up here on these. And they are super tight. Alright, sorry about that, guys. I knocked the camera when I busted that one loose. So as you can tell, these are pretty tight. Try this one here. Then go ahead and pull all these out once you get them broken loose. Okay, so with those 4 out on the front motor mount, you want to come over to the transmission mounts, and you got 14 millimeter up in there on your front one. Same with that. And then on the back mount for your transmission, same thing. You got a 14 millimeter here and a 14 millimeter up in there. And that's what's holding on this motor mount on your rear. And same with your front. So you can go ahead and undo those, and then we'll support the transmission and jack it up a little bit to take these top ones off. So yeah, there's what that looks like. It's real thin. They don't give you much to latch onto on those. So next, let's go ahead and take a jack with a block of wood, and we'll go under this main part of the transmission here, and we'll support the transmission before we go any further. Now we'll go ahead and break on the front transmission mount these two 14mm bolts. We'll go ahead and pull those out. So now that mount's loose, but again, we got to go up with the transmission to pull this out of the frame here. Okay, so now on the back transmission mount, let me zoom in here for you. These ones you can't get with a socket. You got 14mm here, and then on the other side 14mm. So you're gonna have to use an open end wrench or a speed wrench to get these off. And in order to get that out, it looks like we're gonna have to jack it up. Just like that. So there's that mount. And that one actually doesn't look too bad. I think it's the rear one that we're having problems with. So with that jacked up, should be able to remove this one now. And as you can see, that comes off in two pieces. So that one definitely needed replaced. You can just lift it right out of there. I'll show you. But yeah, as you can see, this transmission mount was toast. So that's why we're replacing it. Okay, so then back up top on this front motor mount, you guys can get in here and see. You can see with that transmission lifted up, it lifted this mount as well for the motor. So you can see that's loose. So I'm going to try and undo. You got a bolt here, bolt there, and then same thing on the other side, and remove the whole bracket with the motor mount. And I'm hoping I got enough room to snake it by these radiator hoses without having to take the fans out. So this top one's going to be a 17mm. Let's go ahead and loosen that. I'm going to try and break all these free before I take them all off. Oh, and that one came out with ease. I did soak all these in PB Blaster too. See, and I just don't think I can jack it up enough to remove this, so that's why I think I got to remove this whole bracket. But now with this loose, as you can see, I can turn it to get me easier access to these three bolts on each side. Okay, and then I'll remove this top one. And then again, these are 14mm. Like I said, I'm just going to break these loose. Yeah, I'm just slipping on that, so I'm gonna go underneath and try it from down there. All right, guys, so from underneath, you can see the motor mounts right there. This one on the left side is a lot easier to get to under here. There's that one. Now let's go ahead and remove this top nut so we can get that bracket off. That'll make it easier pulling it out of here. And we should be able to remove our bracket now. Pull that out of there. Alright, so this motor mount does have a vacuum line connected to it at the bottom. You can see it running along there. So I'm going to try and flip this over and see if we can disconnect that line. Maybe. Yeah, there you can kind of see it. And it should just pull off of there. There we go. So I'm going to try a little screwdriver because that vacuum line's hard to get off here. Now I'll try a pick. Just doesn't want to come off of there. There we go. Okay, remove that vacuum. Now let's see if we can get this out of here through these radiator hoses. There we go. So there's our front motor mount. Okay, so I grabbed my new motor mounts. Here's the rubber piece that had fallen off, so I was going to put that on, and that's how it was on the in the car there. Had this little dot here, and then the curve was towards the radiator fans. So it looks like, and then also if you flip it upside down, you can see that the vacuum hose goes towards the rear of the car. So looking at the new motor mounts, looks like they're exactly the same except for the rubber piece. They both face to the rear. So it looks like I may just have to pull this rubber piece off and flip it around to match this one. And then as you can see, that's what the other part looks like. So yeah, it looks like the front and rear that they sent me are, I'm assuming, exactly the same mount. Okay, so I got that rubber piece flipped around, just the way the old one came out. And then I went ahead and just cleaned the area up a little bit, like down below there. Make sure that's all flat and cleaned up. And then I had some oil stains I just kind of cleaned up right there. So let's go ahead and snake this in here. It's hard to do one-handed. Okay, and with that down in there, let's go ahead and do this vacuum hose first. slide that on there. And watch this rubber piece. There's like a protective rubber sleeve right here that kind of slides up on you. Okay, just make sure that's on there nice and tight, just like that. And let's flip this around. So it went on like that. So just like removal, I'll take that top bracket, go ahead and stick that on. And I'll just put the nut on there for now, not tight or anything. Then I'll go ahead and start putting these bolts back in, get it lined up correctly. Alright guys, so I got all those tight, those 3 bolts there. I did not tighten any of this yet. This is still loose. Because I'm going to go ahead and go down and let's do our transmission mounts really quick. And then just go ahead and compare your new one to your old one, the rear mount here. And then go ahead and take your new transmission mount on the rear here. Let's stick that in the frame here. Drop that down in there like that. And then take your bolts here. Try and line those up. Get them started at least. So yeah, just get those started. And then move on to your front one. Just compare it. And yep, looks good. And then same thing, let's drop the front one in. Just like that. And I'm actually going to lower this a little bit so we can get these holes lined up a little better and get them started. So yeah, as you're coming down with that jack, just go real slow and keep coming over here to the driver's side and checking this mount just to make sure it isn't getting caught up, especially up in here. And then when you get it lowered just enough, you go ahead and stick this bolt back in here. And you can, since this is rubber, you can really move this with ease, kind of, just to get that hole lined up. So go ahead and stick that bolt in first. Okay, and this next hole isn't lining up too well, so I'm going to lower it a little more and see if that'll drop down. So there we go, got that one started. All right, so with those started, I'm gonna wait to put the nuts on underneath. Come around to the front here. And same with the front motor mount. This is still loose up here. So I'm gonna wait on those and see if I can take a stab at this rear one. I got some time to mess around with this, so hopefully I can get this one up and out of here. All right, so looking at the back mount here, you can see it down in there. And I'm gonna try to get my camera in these angles as best as I can, so bear with me, but I use my extension. You can see, just like the front, you got one bolt there, and then another one there. Come around to the other side. It's gonna be hard to see down in there. There you go. You can kind of see that one right there. And then just behind that, there's another one back in there. All right, so let's try this first, closest one to the front here. See if we can break it free. Oh, and actually that one is nothing like the front. Okay, so that one able to get loose. All right, let's see if I can get this universal socket down in here. Okay, there we go, I'm on it. Hopefully this one isn't super tight. Okay, so that one's loose. Now let's go try the other side. All right, now on the other side, passenger side here, got my universal socket down there. Let's try and break this front one free. Hopefully it's as easy as the other two on the other side. Okay, so that one's loose. And now this back one is going to be a pain because you got all this vacuum for your climate control, and then your heater core hoses here going into the firewall, and it's back right underneath this black bracket here. So let me take a look and see how I'm going to do this. Alright, so here's what I'm going to try. I got my 14 millimeter 1/4 inch socket. You can see it down there already on it. So I put that on the bolt, and kind of up here with a 1/4 inch extension, I'm going to go through this bracket right here. So let me get that on there. I'm actually going to have to go on the other side of this hose here. So drop that down in there, and you can kind of see. So now I'm latched into the socket there through this bracket with my 1/4 inch. And let me grab got my little 1/4 inch breaker bar, and let's see if we can bust it loose with that. I'm hoping. And then just be careful again, because this car's old and a lot of this stuff's brittle. So yeah, just be careful with that bracket as you're doing this. course, this one's going to be a pain. Alright guys, so that was a no-go on that. Of course, the hardest one is going to be the hardest one to get off as well. So I'm going to try a cheater bar here with my 1/4 inch breaker bar, and let's see if that works. Well, did that work or did I break it? I just want to show you guys again, since I wasn't really able to record that too well. Again, there's my 1/4 inch extension, and like I said, I latched onto here. And then I just took just an old jack handle, and I brought this up, actually the end with the rubber on there, and I brought it up and slid that in there, and then while I held it down there, kind of, I was able to bust this loose. So okay, so since I got those loose and broken free, I'm going to go ahead and keep moving on, because I just wasn't sure if I was going to be able to even break those free to get that mount out. So moving forward, let's go ahead and like I said, these two are started, same with on the rear, those two are started, but as you can see, I have not put the nuts in yet. So what I'm going to do is lower this jack off the transmission and then move it over to the oil pan. That way I can jack up the engine instead of the transmission. Okay, so moving on to the oil pan here. Same thing, just take a block of wood. Just go directly underneath the oil pan. And I'm not going to actually jack it up yet. Just kind of got it resting on that right now. Alright, so now I'm going to move on to this side one, just to get it loose and off. That way I can really jack up on this side and be able to jack up the rear there. So looking at this one, I'm hoping I don't have to take off this whole cruise control thing here. But as you can see, like I said in the first part of the video, I'm missing a bolt there. When we bought it, it was like that. So like I said, I'm hoping I can pull this off and this bracket off here, and then use a universal socket to get down into the mounting bolt there. And there's another mounting bolt on the back, and then one down in there. So okay, so first thing I'm going to do is take off this little bracket that holds the wiring harness for the alternator on. So let's go ahead and try and get this one free. It's going to be a 17 millimeter. There's what that looks like. Then go ahead and break free your 14 millimeter there and your other one. And as you can see, mine wasn't even tight. That's what that looks like. And then let's see if we can get this bracket out of here. Pull that bracket off. And then, like I said, let's try and get these. You got a bolt there. Bolt right there, straight down, kind of hard to see there. And then this one here, which we'll try the universal socket on that. Sorry about that. That one was on there tight, knocked the camera off. So now let's see if we can get this out of here. And actually, guys, I'm gonna pull this power steering reservoir out. There's a little 10mm bolt here, and then I can move it over. That'll make that a lot easier getting out of here. So let me do that real quick. Now you should be able to move this. Yeah, there we go. Move this just enough to get this out. So there's that, and you can see that motor mount is totally shot. Let me grab the new one. So here's the new one. You can see that doesn't even move at all with any force. And this one's just, well, actually it looks like it's, yeah, it's just falling apart. Okay, so moving on with the side motor mount all out now. Go ahead and continue to the back rear one, and I'm going to go ahead and get all 4 of these bolts out on the rear mount here. Alright, so I got all 4 of those loose. Now let's try and loosen that top nut there on the motor mount. Just like the front, it's a 17mm. Alright, that one broke free. You can see how tight that one was too. Okay, so with that loose, not sure if I'm going to be able to jack this up enough to slide that motor mount out this way because of all this stuff in the way. So I have a feeling I'm going to have to take off that silver bracket. Hopefully I can access the bolts. You can see it kind of runs down there. I'm gonna have to crawl underneath and see if I can access the bolts to that from down there, because like I said, pretty sure I'm not gonna be able to slide that motor mount out towards the driver's side here and clear this wiring harness and those coolant hoses or this canister here. All right, so for that bracket, there's a total of 4 bolts I'll climb underneath and show you here in a minute. But the top driver's side one, you're gonna have to get from up here, and just kind of show you where I'm at. Yeah, you'll just need a little extension, and then your 14 millimeter, and it wasn't that bad to break loose, but you'll want to undo this one. Alright guys, so here's what that bolt looks like. Alright, so I'll go ahead and crawl under here and show you those 4 bolts. And guys, again, I can't stress it enough. Make sure your jack's in good shape with your block of wood, and you're tight as you're getting under here. You don't want that falling on you. Even though our front motor mount's still in and our transmission mounts should be able to catch it, but just can't stress enough, guys, be careful while you're doing all this. So underneath, you can see transmissions there. I got my jack and my oil right there. And looking up right where the exhaust is, you can see there's 3 bolts right there on that silver bracket. So you need to undo those 3. And then on the other side here, you can see right at the top there on the silver bracket, that's the one I pulled up from up above there. So I'm going to get these 3 out real quick. And as you can see, once you do get them broken loose, you can get a socket wrench up in here to undo all 3 of these. Alright guys, so as you can see, I got all 3 of them bolts out. Now you can see this bracket moves freely, so I'll go ahead and go up top. So now with that bracket loose, let's see if we can get this bracket out of here. I'm going to pull this 17 millimeter nut off here first, off the motor mount. And then let's see if we can. This should just pop right off of there. Yep. And then let's slide this out of here. Just be careful of all your lines and stuff here. Try not to break anything pulling it out of here. Okay, so there's what that motor or that bracket looks like. Show you this old front one. It's pretty much the same thing. So this bracket went on there kind of like that, just so you can see. Flip it around here so you get a better look at them bolts that I pulled out. So those are connected to the engine block there, so you should be able to pull those 4 out and then be able to pull this off. Now with that bracket off, let's see if we can flip this over maybe. Again, this one, same, just like the front, has a vacuum line connected to the bottom. Let me pull this bolt out of here so I don't lose that. Flip this over so you guys can, hopefully you can make it out there. But yeah, see, that one has pretty much the same thing, just a vacuum line there going to the bottom of it. Let me grab my screwdriver and see if I can get that off. Alright, so I got that vacuum off. It was just too hard to get the camera in here and use both hands, but that just connected just like that. So now let's try and get this thing out of here. I'm going to try to snake my way through there. Like I say, you got these two coolant lines, but you're able to move them as you're pulling out. And then you got this large wiring harness here. Be careful with that. Hopefully I can push it over enough to the side of this canister. But that connects right there. I think that's going to be our best route as it's coming up. And then you also got these lines here you need to be careful of. And once we get the old one in there, or the new one in there, we'll double check all the lines and everything. All right, so I got it this far up and I'm kind of at a standstill. So I'm going to try and take off this hose right here that runs underneath there, and then maybe this clip here, undo that. Maybe that'll give me a little bit more room to get this out. And as you can see, this one is bad. It's leaking hydraulic fluid as I'm pulling it out, this motor mount. All right, so I was able to pull it out of here. Sorry I didn't videotape it too hard, but I was able to just snake it up through there, and I didn't have to actually take this clip off here or this line here. I was just able to move this enough out of the way and that to bring it out, and then you just have to maneuver it around just to get it out. And then I'll show you. As you can see, this one is leaking hydraulic fluid because these are filled with hydraulic fluid. And I'll show you underneath how much it was leaking as I was pulling it out. You can see how much of a mess that made on my garage floor. So that's all the hydraulic fluid that's inside that motor mount. And let's just compare it to our new one here. Find what I do with it. Alright. So here's our new one. And looks like it's going to match up. Here's the rubber piece that was on it. I believe it was like that. But as you can see, this one says RR, so I don't know if that means rear, right rear, I don't know. But like I said earlier, they looked exactly the same, the front and the rear, so I think you can mount them either way. Alright, so we can go ahead and take our new one and drop it down in there. I remember how to get this back down in here. Okay, we got it down in there at least. Now I'm gonna flip it upside down and get that vacuum line on. Plus it's facing the wrong way anyways. So go ahead and connect your vacuum hose there. And I don't know guys, you might be able to connect this vacuum line from underneath. I'm just doing it up above here. Didn't really look down there to see if it was easier or not. Okay, once you get that on good and tight, go ahead and set it up. And then just make sure your holes line up. I'm gonna grab one of my bolts and just place it in here. Just kind of start it so that doesn't move. So that'll kind of stay put a little bit on here. And now I'll go ahead and grab our bracket. we go. Get that over the top. And I'm going to take that nut, just put this nut on here just a little bit. Okay, and then I'm going to take that top bolt that goes onto the bracket. It's on this driver's side top, and go ahead and stick this in here. You can't really see it, you just got to go off of feeling it. So I got that one started, so I'll go ahead and go underneath and let's put those 3 other bolts on this bracket. Okay, so back down underneath, you can see there's the one I already screwed in from top. And then go ahead and put in your other ones. I'll start these by hand, and then I'll use my socket set on them. And then again, the longer one of the 3 is going to go at the top passenger side there. All right, so I got all those tight, and that one there. So I'll go ahead and tighten up that one at the very top there from up top. Then go ahead and finish tightening up this top one here on this bracket. So next, with that motor mount still loose, let's go ahead and put in that backside bolt there. So you got those 2 in. Let's go to the other side. All right, let's see if I can get to that one. Okay, while I got that one on there, again, I'll grab my extension and my 14mm 1/4" drive. Put that on there so that's ready to go. And then, as you can see, I got that other bolt in there as well. Okay, so that's a relief. I got that one in there and the bolt started. So really all that's left is tightening stuff down. I'm going to come over here to the front motor mount, since we do have that jacked up and it is still loose, as you can see. I'm going to go ahead and stick the bolts into this front one really quick. And then we'll go ahead and mount our side one. But first, let's take off this old line, holds that line up there in place. Just take a pair of needle nose, try to squeeze the tabs and pull out on it. That's what that looks like. So take your new one, and go ahead and pop that in there. Just like that. And go ahead and stick your new side motor mount in here. And this is the line, that clips into that little hook holder that we took out. Okay, and then you can go ahead and tighten these down. Alright, so once you get all three of those tightened down, you come over here to your power steering reservoir, and you can put that back and put the bolt through that and tighten that down. Then you can go ahead and take the bracket for the side one and go ahead and put that back on here. And I'm just going to put in this first bolt here. We're going to have to lower the jack to get it to fit in the rest of the way. So as you can see, I just kind of got that started, but on this front one, I'm going to have to lower the motor back down to get that to fit through and stick that bolt through. And then just go slowly as you're lowering this jack. And then come up top and see if that's enough to get this in yet or not. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and lower it the rest of the way. Again, going real easy. Alright, so let's go ahead and start tightening everything back up. I'm going to start on the rear one here since this is the hardest one. Going to do all four of the motor mount bolts, and then this nut here as well will tighten up. Then you can go ahead and move to your transmission ones. Okay, and then move to your rear transmission mount. Okay, and then grab your open end wrench and don't forget your top ones here. And you come around to your front one, tighten it all up. Okay, and then last but not least, go ahead and tighten up your side mount. Okay, and don't forget your little 10mm bolt to hold this wiring harness on here. And then go ahead and put your wheel and tire back on. All right, so that's going to do it for today's video. Again, 99 Honda Accord 3.0 V6, and I replaced the 3 motor mounts, the rear, the front, and the side, along with the 2 transmission mounts, front and rear. So, and once you get everything lowered, just double check and make sure no hoses or vacuum lines, anything came unplugged, and just double check your work. Make sure everything's back intact the way it should be. And again, here's the old motor mounts, and we needed 3 of them for sure, and it's a good thing we replaced the other 2. So again, go ahead and like and subscribe to the channel, guys. I got a lot more videos coming your way, especially on this Honda, so keep watching for those. Thanks, guys.